Hello, and welcome back on board to our boat here in Indonesia. It is now 10 a.m. for you guys in the UK. Hi, hello, welcome back on board to our boat in Indonesia. It's 10 a.m. for you guys in the UK. I will do, yeah. And it's 5 p.m. here for us in Indonesia. And thank you very much to Imray for having us back. We had some lovely feedback after the last talk I did for you guys on board. And one thing that people said is, where are these children that you're talking about? You know, it's all too quiet and all too orderly on your boat. So be careful what you wish for, because this time the whole crew is here and ready to talk about any questions relating to what it's like to have cruising kids, what it's like to have kids on board. I have a little lady here who would like me to introduce you to her. This is our daughter Rocket. She is our eldest. She's 7 years old, just turned 7 this week. Yay! This little minxy one here is Autumn. She's going to be 2 in October. And over there, who's not in shot at the moment, but maybe he'll come into shot if he's feeling brave enough, is our son Indigo, who's just turned 5, just a couple of days ago. And this one isn't so shy. This is my husband, James. He was the one very patiently looking after all 3 children when I asked you to talk for you guys. So,
we had a movie.
And they watched a movie, yeah. So I'm going to chat for a little bit longer, just while people get ready, signed in, all of that. Don't worry, we're not running too much to schedule. Oh, here's Indigo. Indy, would you like to wave and say hi? It's okay.
You're just looking at ourselves.
So, some things that you guys might want to ask us questions on, you never know. Things like safety, education, what it's like to have a baby or a newborn on board.
You're so silly.
I'm very silly. What the kids do about friends, how we keep in touch with friends and family back home, what we do about health, what other sailing families there are out there. Also, I would like to point out that at 7, 5 and 2, these are very, well, not even 2 yet, these are very young cruising kids. There are lots of people who are sailing with far older cruising kids, teenagers who could tell you all sorts of stories about their circumnavigations and things like that. I will be providing some links and information to getting in touch with sailing families that have older children.
You're so silly. Why do you even talk?
Is anyone starting to realise why I did the solo last time? Anyway, we are here. We are ready. Throw your questions at us, and anything that you guys think of, we will try to answer. Hopefully the kids will try to answer as well. Oh, I'm very glad that this camera doesn't include smells. Someone's making smells. Yeah. Okay, so I have someone saying, hello Rocket, my daughter is watching with me. She's asking whether you get bored if you can't see your friends.
Not really.
So, where are your friends all over the world, my darling?
What about in Mexico?
In Mexico?
I have.
What about New Zealand? What about Olive?
Bali?
Yeah. You've got friends in Bali.
New Zealand.
Friends in New Zealand.
Papua New Guinea.
Friends in Papua New Guinea. Yeah. There was kind of an amazing thing about Papua New Guinea, actually. The kids just bonded with children that had no common language with. Yes, darling.
Can I have more popcorn?
Of course you can have more popcorn. Right, someone asking about our daily routine.
We don't really have
No,
one.
particularly at the moment during lockdown, things that the routine is that we roll with the punches, and there's always infinite flexibility in our lives. Someone with 2 boys asking, are you only allowed small toys on the boat?
No, we have a ginormous. No.
If you ask me, yes.
If you ask me, no.
They have quite a mixture, yeah. They have
Look,
small
we
toys.
have cute.
Don't shush him. No.
What toys do you have?
Yeah, you can tell us about your toys, Indy.
Lego. Lego is a great one.
Lego is quite a good one.
Plus.
Yeah, Lego and Plus Plus. We do actually have some quite big toys. Yeah.
Yeah, we have like big.
But not big in comparison to.
And big on my head.
Yeah, because storage is always important on the boat. So sometimes we have things on a rotation.
Well, we have a skateboard.
We do have a skateboard.
My
yes,
skateboard.
which Rocket loves to play with on the
My
boat.
skateboard.
But yeah, we sometimes we take things out of circulation for a little bit and then bring them out when they haven't been played with for a while. Everybody's falling on top of me, which is causing me quite a bit of pain.
This is a mirror.
It's like a mirror, isn't it? Yeah.
Because if I do this.
And someone's saying, "Oh yeah, and Lego is waterproof."
If I do
Yeah.
this.
Of course, we should point out the water is quite a big toy for us. It always used to be that we just have a bucket of water in the cockpit, and when we were at anchor, still anchorage, the kids could play with it for hours on end. And that would also be when certain toys played bath time and stuff like that.
But also shells and sticks, anything they find on beaches.
Just behind the shot here, we have the world's greatest shell collection. Because our kids do collect shells from every single beach we've ever been on. Indy, could you just grab one of the shells out of the basket?
What about
To
this
show-
one?
I want to show them.
Yeah, okay, you can do that. We've also had a question about how does homeschooling work? Do you have to follow a set curriculum from the UK? Oh, you want to show off some shells? Okay, so we've got a lovely conch shell here, lovely trumpet shell here. Very nice.
You can hear the sea.
Officially and legally, we don't have to follow a set
You can
curriculum
hear
from the UK. And homeschooling,
You shush.
homeschooling has a huge broad spectrum for sailing children. Some people do follow a set curriculum from an institution in their home country
Go.
and sit down every day and do a set number of hours of schoolwork. It might not surprise you to realise that we don't do that.
The kids are still fairly young, so like only
Yes,
Rocket's
help yourself.
school age, really.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket has only just turned 7. That's a lovely rock. The main thing that leads the education for the children is that they ask questions all the time about all sorts of different subjects, whether it's related to where we actually are, or just what's going on in their bodies, or what's happening in the ocean. Indy, that's a very nice spatula. So quite often we're able to answer their questions. Quite often we're not able to answer their questions, which really excites us because then we have to look things up. And could we maybe stop it with the spatula, Indigo? Because people didn't really.
Unless you're going to talk about cooking.
Unless you want to talk about cooking, because that's one of the other things that they get really involved with. James is the chef on board, and so he gets the kids all involved with the cooking all the time.
The environment that they're in and everything changing all the time is an education in itself. Different countries, different people.
Yeah, and we have access to lots of resources that we keep on board all the time. So like we have to have a good hefty book on the ocean. So that covers lots of aspects.
The moon jellyfish.
The moon. Okay, if you can find the moon jellyfish, then I can show it to them. So quite often it is identifying species that they've seen when they're out snorkeling, or it's looking at different areas and some pumpkin seeds.
Do you want to say anything about the pumpkin seeds?
Sunflower.
Oh, you're right. They are sunflower seeds.
They are sunflower seeds.
And you're throwing random stuff to the screen.
Okay, darling, can I move that down because it's very heavy for me to have this.
Do you want to bring it round to me?
Yeah, you can show it. Yeah, bring it round. Gone off into popcorn. Yeah, so education is very much question led. But then sometimes we just throw in something random. We'll decide, okay, it's. I'm going to let you know when there are. We might just decide it's giraffe day. We had giraffe day a little while back and decided to watch some nature programs about giraffes and draw giraffes, and we even made a little wooden giraffe. And
No,
Indigo, unless you want to talk about the dustpan, would you be able to not put it in front of the screen? Because people would like to engage with what you're actually holding and doing.
It's a nice surreal kind of.
It is a bit.
Kind of thing you're doing there.
Yeah. So completely lost my train of thought.
Education.
There you go. Yeah. Education. Well, there is. Oh, do you know the names of those types of shells? Well, that's one of the things that we look up each time. So this.
We don't know a lot of them.
This one is a trumpet shell. Rocket. There's.
Why is there a phone in front of me?
Oh, because that's how we get our internet. So if the signal does go strange or anything, sorry, it's because we're just limited to the internet through the phone. Yeah, so quite often we will come across shells that we haven't seen before, and we might look up about the type of it. Do you remember the other day we looked up about what a cowrie was actually like? Because both me and Rocket really like cowrie shells, and we've always collected them, and in all sorts of different sizes and different shades of purple. We think they're particularly pretty. But neither one of us had any clue what the actual creature cowrie looked like without looking it up. So yeah, so that's one of the examples. And we covered the question about the toys, didn't we? Do you guys?
What are you bringing now?
He's very happily bringing along a cup of tea. You know, he's British. He might have been born in New Zealand, but he likes his cup of tea. So for those of you who don't know, our kids have been born along our travels. Rocket was born in Mexico, in Pacific Mexico. Indigo was born in New Zealand, and Autumn was actually born back in England on a flying visit back to the UK. You do have a question. You've actually got a question from a family member about what is it like having a birthday on the boat. So you guys have had lots of birthdays on the boat. And
yeah,
it's
really recent. It's really fun. But sometimes this is a globe. Show the globe away.
Rocket's answering a question, Indigo, and then you can answer the same question.
Quite fun.
So what did we do for your birthday on the boat?
Well, we had a chocolate brownie.
We did. It was a very good chocolate brownie made locally.
No.
I didn't bake because it was too hot.
He's going crazy.
I always used to do the baking on board, and it's so hot in Indonesia at the moment that I'm not doing the baking on board. You've had another question, which is, do you kids ever get frightened or worried by the sea? Indy, why don't you tell us what you think about that?
Do you ever get frightened, Indy?
Sometimes I think a shark might come up and eat me.
Sometimes you think a shark might come up and eat you. Do you actually think? Ooh, that's loud. Autumn, our youngest, doesn't ever seem to be afraid of anything.
She thinks she can swim, even though
She is certain that she can swim. What about you, Rocket? Do you ever get frightened about anything?
Only cook with a spatula. Well, sometimes, but not very often.
What do you get scared of?
Crocodiles eating my feet.
Well, that's quite a reasonable
I'd
fear.
be afraid of that as well.
In
yeah.
some places there are crocodiles.
So we
have to be careful.
Of course.
It's just like because it's dark water.
You do get scared of deep water, don't you?
Yeah.
We have cruised in countries where there are saltwater crocodiles, and we did a lot of research before anchoring anywhere. And people would sort of say, oh yeah, there's no crocodiles at all. But on that island, just there, they've got crocodiles. And it would be an island, you know, within visual distance, you know, maybe a mile away. And so we wouldn't feel particularly safe about swimming.
Well, they can swim hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
So
and they'd sort of say things like, oh yeah, there was a kid who got taken by a croc just the other week. But right here it's fine. So of course we use our best judgment on that. I did warn you it might get loud.
What did you want to say, Autumn? Where are you trying to get to?
Indy, darling, could you put the cookware down? And maybe you have your answer about what a birthday is like on board, and if you ever get frightened at sea. Come and tell them about your birthday, because yours was on Thursday. What did we do for your birthday on board?
Okay.
Would you be able to come into shot so people can see your beautiful face?
Oh, maybe I should move back a little.
That's a good.
Oreos.
You had Oreos for your birthday?
Are we allowed to eat one now?
Maybe after we've done this talk, you could have an Oreo. That's a great idea.
And maybe me too eating them.
Of course you do.
I want me to see
Oh no,
them.
we've had a question. Jess and James, how do you manage to keep a healthy marriage going, being in your situation and with each other 24/7?
I have no idea.
I did also have a pack of.
You did also have a pack of monkey nuts. That's referring to the previous question, by the way.
Maybe because we always have to be in the same.
Of sweet cherries.
And a can of sweet cherries.
On the same
Very
wavelength
nice.
all the time.
Yeah, we do quite like each other. I mean,
It's amazing.
I'm sure that when we started this, we had no idea that we'd be doing the same thing. You know, we're coming up to 9 years. We're a couple of months off 9 years we've been on board. We do make a very good team. You know, I've got a fantastic partner who helps me with everything. As you can see during the course of this video, you know, we're kind of tag teaming.
I'm just backup.
Oh, come on.
Hey. You do lots of stuff, like you drive the boat.
Yeah, carry on, Roxy.
What else do I do?
And you cook.
Yeah.
You even get us to
Sorry.
sleep.
Autumn's still breastfeeding, so I hope that's okay for you all. We have to kind of roll with it. Yes, Autumn clearly could have a career as a soprano. I agree with you. Okay, someone's saying, do you ever stay in the same place for long, or are you constantly on the move?
Well, a little.
Well, we've been in this area for 6 months now.
Yeah,
So at the moment we're not moving.
due to COVID, we are stationary in a way that we never really have been before. So it's kind of an interesting lesson because we're kind of getting very involved with the local community here in Labuan Bajo, which is in Flores, in the Komodo Islands in Indonesia. And there's a couple of other cruising boats here and a bunch of other expats who are residents here.
We're doing little moves around. Like, I think we moved 1.5 miles this morning.
Yeah, and there's another island that we like to visit, which is about 7 miles away. So that's a really nice little day hop for the kids. And to be honest, the kids are so nonchalant about moving. Autumn likes to be up on deck with us, and the other two are just sort of like, yeah, we'll watch a movie.
But normally we'll have times when we're moving all the time, and then we might stop for 6 months somewhere.
Yeah, quite often timed with storm season, you know, hurricanes or cyclones.
Or having a baby.
Or having a baby, yeah. And we're also being asked, what do you do if you need your own space? Well,
I jump over the side of the boat and clean the bottom of the boat.
yeah.
That's my favourite space time. But actually, there's an amazing amount of space on the boat. You just go off on deck,
Yeah.
or forward of the mast.
And there's swimming and paddleboarding. You want to cuddle. And
And you can have a new nose that's actually a spatula.
I don't know why the spatula is so popular today.
Is that how you have your own space?
We are being asked, Jess, you're working on a book with Imray and the Royal Cruising Club Pilotage Foundation. That is true. I am revising the title South Pacific Anchorages. And I'm being asked, how do I get any work done? At the moment, I don't get an awful lot of work done. The reality of that isn't actually so much to do with the children. It's more to do with the current situation with COVID. I am very fortunate that I've got 60 contributors who are all playing a various role in revising that title and giving me great information on hand in areas all across the Pacific. But they are all dealing with COVID and sailing restrictions and visa restrictions and possible deportation, which is something that we might be dealing with very shortly, as Indonesia's just changed its rules on emergency visas. So at the should we bring the popcorn up here?
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm realising that all the people who are involved in the title are dealing with much bigger, more urgent, pressing issues. So I'm not really. That's what happens when you take a spatula away.
The spatula's become very important.
It's very important, yeah. It's like a talking stick. Whoever holds the spatula is in charge.
But
yeah.
normally you work in the morning?
I was in a really nice rhythm of working in the mornings, and I'm sure I'll get back into that same rhythm. But yeah, everyone's dealing with their own challenges at the moment, and so we're just sort of putting it on hold for the time being.
New question.
Yes, there's a question of where have the kids enjoyed visiting most? Now this might be a tricky one because they are so young. There might be a lot of places we've visited that they don't remember so much. So, kiddos.
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Now, why did you enjoy New Zealand so much, do you think?
There was ice on the dock and I like snow.
Ah, so the cold weather. Yeah, it's life in the tropics.
It's a novelty, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, she's intrigued by snow and ice. Yeah, I mean, it's a complete different climate there, isn't it?
What about you, Indy? Can you think of any places you've liked?
I just like myself.
You just like yourself.
You just like yourself. That's a great place to be.
This is kind of an interesting thing because, as you will have gathered, with 2 birthdays in the family very close together in the last week, Rocket and Indigo have 4 days between their birthdays. But Rocket was born in the height of summer in Mexico, and Indy was born in midwinter in New Zealand because obviously it's in the southern hemisphere. So that's why there was ice on the dock, and Rocket has these memories of that. How big a part are the children's thoughts on possible destinations to travel? It's an interesting one. James and I generally have a sort of big picture plan of where we might be going in a season or a year. Yeah, I'm going to remember that question, don't you worry. Thank you for alerting me though. And then we tend to tell the children, that, okay, our thoughts are that we'll be going up to Malaysia in a few months or, something like that. Obviously, we had told them about our plans, and then our plans had to be put on hold for COVID. But we tend to discuss the little day-to-day plans with them more, and we say, we're thinking of moving over to this anchorage or this island. And in general, they're on board with that. Or they might say, oh, can we go back to such and such a place? Rocket, in particular, being the eldest, has a very good memory for places we've been to and might make a request for, a place you could revisit. And sailing in Indonesia for so long gives us the opportunity to do that.
So we try and discuss things with them, but obviously, overall, it's our plan.
Yeah. Although, sorry, Karen.
As it is, whatever normal families and houses sort of pretty much choose what they're doing. I was
going to say we're fortunate in that none of the kids has sort of put their foot down and said, yet I'm just sick of living on a boat. I want to, be done with it. And we have had periods of living on land. We tend to go back to England every couple of years, and it coincides with us doing a big building project and then living on a building site. So maybe they're not that keen on land for that reason.
Autumn was born on a building site we ripped up the water.
We ripped out running water. We did, yeah. So it's kind of like living on a boat. And we've been asked, what are you looking forward to? Ooh, we're looking forward to making monster noises. Kids, what are you looking forward to? Are you looking forward to being on the move again?
I'm looking forward to go and see snow.
You're not looking forward to Right. So Rocket wants to see snow. So we might be...
We've got to go quite far to see snow.
Yeah, we might be a bit lost if we see snow.
I want to go to see penguins.
You never...
Go to see my birthday.
We did sail in waters with penguins when we were in New Zealand. We had little blue penguins,
little penguins.
Swimming around the boat. And they were as cute as they sound, little and blue. You never know. If we're forced to sail back to England, then maybe you will get snow on the boat. Because at the moment we're a bit up in the air as to what might be happening with us being allowed to stay in the country. And so we shall see with that one. There's kind of popcorn fireworks going on. Where will you see snow, Rocket?
Where do you want to go and see snow?
Where do you want to go and see snow? Has to be somewhere with a coastline.
North Pole.
The North Pole. You heard it here first. So we might be rerouting to the North Pole.
We might have to do some work on the boat before going to those.
I know. We had to make a submarine.
A submarine, yeah. Convert the boat into a submarine. Very good.
You work on that one.
There's a
Okay.
pressure button in there, all turns into a submarine.
You do realise it's not quite chitty chitty bang bang.
I know, but I want it to be. I want it to turn into a car.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Would you like some water, little choky one? Oh yeah. What are the kids' favourite animals that they've seen during our travels?
I like.
What? Are you going to come up with some animals? Okay, I'm going to volunteer Komodo dragons for Indy. He was obsessed with Komodo dragons.
That's true. Yeah, it was one of the first phrases he said, actually. Actually, he used to call them Modo dragons, which was very cute.
And we do turtle watch.
What have you got?
I really like turtles.
We do see some great turtles. In fact, we have 4 turtles swimming round and round the anchorage at the moment.
Right now!
The boat. Yeah. And every time we pop up, we're like, oh, there's a turtle, there's a turtle. So
That's one of Autumn's jobs, is to look out for turtles.
You're on Turtle Watch, aren't you?
There's a bit of popcorn on the computer.
I know!
I'll get off.
And we've seen... Please don't touch anything on the
But I need to get it off.
Done. We've seen some great monkeys. Actually, sometimes you see monkeys right down by the shore, or when we went ashore to see the Komodo dragons, there were monkeys right there, and that's quite nice.
Dolphins.
Amazing dolphins. But these are favourites of ours, of course.
I love dolphins and turtles.
Yeah.
And bugs and birds.
Bugs and birds.
And penguins.
Yeah. Any others?
And horses and unicorns.
Don't see so many of them in the water.
We're
Seahorses.
still looking for unicorns, aren't we?
Sea unicorn? Maybe a narwhal. Maybe when we get up to North Pole.
There's a new question.
Question is, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would it be and why? That's a good question.
I go to Mexico for a fish taco. Where would you go? Turkey.
Turkey? Interesting. Why Turkey?
I don't know. This is the first word that came up in my head.
Okay, we've had another question. As parents, are there places you would have liked to visit or passages you would have taken if you were sailing as a duo, but have consciously made the decision to avoid with the children? I mean, probably the biggest one is...
Sailing out of New Zealand.
We sailed out of New Zealand with the children.
Oh, the first time.
Oh, yeah. So there was...
New question.
There was... Okay,
hey, look, it has popcorn like we're eating.
So there was a passage that we did out from New Zealand, which was very late in the season, that I actually was going to fly with the children and James took on crew to do, because being so late in the season, we knew there might be some unseasonal bad weather. And there was, and they had to return to New Zealand. The following year, when we left New Zealand for good, we did all go at the right time with the children.
Question.
Yes, darling.
But it is harder to do overnighters and things like
yeah,
that.
and I would say that the bigger one is that probably our thoughts about continuing westward into the Indian Ocean are very much bound up with, you know, if we would do that, we would have to do it with long-term crew because of the children, because I would be sort of on the kids a lot more.
I'm stepping on popcorn.
Or it might be that I would fly certain legs with the kids and then James would do it with crew, and then that's not really the kind of sailing we want to do long-term. So that might be the thing that stops us from going into the Indian
I mean, it does
Ocean.
influence day to day.
It definitely influences
You know,
day to
like
day.
it's harder to just suddenly get up and move somewhere.
Sweetie, do it from the seat, then you'll be able to reach it. Yeah. And someone else wants to know if we have been swimming with dolphins. Dolphins are very fast, and in general, it's quite tricky to get right into the water with them. But we have had a lovely experience of being an anchor, yes, and having dolphins between us and the beach that we were anchored off. and James took the kids in turn on the paddleboard, so right at water level, to go up and see the dolphins. And that the dolphins tolerate, don't they? I think swimming.
Yeah, they were just sort of swimming underneath the board, kind of literally 2 feet away.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
So that was pretty magical.
And another question is, what's it like having crew aboard? We've had all manner of crew aboard, both when we've had kids and not had kids.
We had pirates aboard.
It varies massively.
Because it depends on the person, it depends on the passage, it depends on how long they're on board for. In the last talk, I did mention that we had a good friend on board once for 5 months, and then the same person returned and spent 8 months with us. So he's a pretty special guy. That's not something that we would do with just anyone. Yes, Rocket, there is a new question. I will come to it. I will come to it when I've finished answering this question, okay? And there are some passages that we just have crew specifically for a short passage. So we might have people on board just for a week. And more often than not, that's been when I've been pregnant and either, pregnant for the first time or with the kids, and I might fly, and then James has.
Yeah, so occasionally we do passages where I just take the boat with one or two crew for a week or something like that, and these guys fly.
Yeah.
That's quite rare.
So.
Other question is.
It wasn't a question actually. It was your auntie saying, "I remember dolphins swimming with the boat in Panama." So that's my sister who came to visit us when we were in Panama. And dolphins in general love when the boat is moving. So they will follow you along and race you and chase you, and they love playing in the bow waves. Is
it going into
very
chaos?
loud, Tom Tom.
Are you wanting a shell? Are you wanting a shell? That's a bit spiky.
Oh my. Okay.
Let me give you a cone
what
shell.
I might do is I might ask if anyone has any more questions, and then there's a few things that I might say, slightly wrapping it up. I would say this. Anyone who is considering getting a boat but thinks it may not be possible because of going with children, absolutely you can go. There's always a way of working it out. There's all types of different cruising and sailing that you can do with children, and the trick is just to figure out life on board with your kids, and then take your passages from there.
I mean, it's chaos if you're doing it in a house with 3 kids, so you might as well have chaos on a boat. It's more contained.
Look at Lindy.
Exactly. Someone asking, is all your exercise in the water? What do the kids like to do on land? I mean, they love beaches. Beach combing, running and playing on beaches. Of course, they swim, they snorkel. You're getting louder and louder, Autumn. Which makes it harder and harder.
I'm making some popcorn.
Do you want to come back here?
And in terms of what I was talking about just a moment ago about encouraging people to go sailing with their kids, there are a lot of resources out there for people who are considering it. There are Facebook groups. There's a huge community of people sailing with children, and they welcome questions from anyone. And you can talk to people specifically about children of certain ages. And so if anyone's interested in the links to those, then I can give them at the end of this. I would also, that's noisy too, isn't it? That's part of the shell collection that's coming out now. I would also highly recommend this book, which didn't exist when we first thought about having kids on boats. They look like friends of yours, don't they? This is written by 3 different authors, so 3 different families, but they also take examples from all sorts of different cruising families. Yes, darling? Yeah. It's by Behan Gifford, Sarah Dawn Johnson and Michael Robertson, called Voyaging with Kids. I highly recommend that for anyone who is considering it, because it answers all sorts of questions that you might have that obviously we haven't had time to fully cover here. Yeah, there's a whole wealth of resources out there. There's a huge cruising community and loads of people sailing with kids. So although we may seem unusual to some of you guys back living on shore, I assure you we're very run-of-the-mill when it comes to sailing families. I suppose the only difference is that we didn't have our kids on land and then decide to go cruising. We had our kids as we go. Someone has asked, which destination has been the most welcoming? That's a really tricky one, actually.
Good question.
That question is from our friend. I would say that
Probably
kids...
Ninigos.
Yeah, in Papua New Guinea. The kids help open doors and bridge language barriers.
In
In Bali, yeah, so Indonesia is a place that really values family, and the kids were swept up and cuddled by people everywhere we've been here, you know, every island. It's one of the things, it's kind of the hardest with COVID, because trying to keep social distance when people want to cuddle your children, it's pretty tricky. But yeah, Papua New Guinea was also incredibly welcoming.
Yeah, there's some outer islands of Papua New Guinea where they hardly ever get photos. And we turned up when they did feasts for us and gave us carvings and things like that. In fact, behind us we've got a model of one of their sailing canoes that someone just made for us.
Isn't it?
So that was particularly welcoming there.
Yeah. I mean, New Zealand, it's the place that values family so highly.
It's a welcoming country.
It's one of the reasons we decided to have a child there. And also Mexico. You know, places where family is really highly valued. Somebody wants to know, do you love sailing around? Can you give an answer, Bobo? Because you've been...
Do you love sailing around?
Yeah, it's nice.
quietly filling your face with popcorn.
Very, very nice.
Do you love sailing around? Yeah.
Oh, and goodbye. I'm just going to get...
Do you know who wants to ask that? It's actually your cousin who's asking that.
Who?
Your cousin Wolf.
Wolf? Really?
Yeah.
He's watching you right now, along with other people who I hope are finding this vaguely informative and somewhat amusing.
And not putting them off.
Yeah. So, Indigo, before you shove more popcorn in your mouth, do you like sailing around? Yeah? What do you like about sailing around? And is there anything that you would like to say to anyone who is thinking about having a boat with their kids? If you look, you can see dolphins. That's true. Can I have you a bit higher up? You can sit on my lap if you like.
Orca whale.
Maybe orca
Oh
whales.
yeah, we did see orca whales in New Zealand.
Snaky goodbye.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been looking at him for a long time. So he's good.
So orca whales. What else? What else?
Oh, crocs.
Crocs.
They're good to see, but not when you're in the water.
Yeah, the only time that we've seen crocs...
Not good to swim with.
Definitely not. The only time that we've seen crocs swimming around the boat was in Costa Rica. It was before any of you guys were born. And it was quite funny because James was about to jump in and clean the hull. And then we saw this big saltwater crocodile.
I decided
swimming
not
around.
to after that.
Yeah. And you're also being asked if you've kept up your ballet lessons, Rocket. It's something she's hoping to get back into when, if and when we get up to Malaysia.
Who's that from?
That is actually from our friend Lisa.
You do a lot of dancing on the boat, though, don't you?
Yeah, in fact, just before we turned this on to go live, we were all dancing around to a little bit of Elton John. Because we all just watched Rocket Man recently as a family. So there you go. That's an insight into our sailing world.
In fact, we call that bit of the floor the dance floor.
Yes.
There's
It's
one
actually the
place,
only bit that you can do yoga.
open place in the boat.
It's also the only bit that you can do yoga. Yeah, so someone who was asking about exercise, the parents, we try to do some yoga. Jim's been doing it every day recently with children climbing on him. So that is that's how he gets his alone time.
And also, if the boat's at anchor and it's moving slightly, it sort of hones your balance, or you fall over. But when we're on the move, just being on the boat is exercise.
I've got a stick in my eye. Would that be able to move, please? No. I've got to keep the stick in the eye. Okay. I'm going to ask if there are any last questions, and if
We're
we're
not
done...
going to wrap it up right now.
Okay, what burning
else
things do you have to say? What would you like to share with
I
us?
want it to be longer.
Uh-huh.
I want people more questions.
Okay, you want people more questions?
I want people to give us more questions.
Okay, perhaps you have things that you would like to talk about.
I like licking this piece of wood.
Okay, could you maybe not have the stick in my
It's
face?
salty.
Yes, it's salty because you got it from the ocean.
Disgustingly salty.
Maybe don't lick it then.
Is this degenerating enough?
I think it is. I think maybe it might be time for
No, don't shut it down.
Okay, what do you?
Not right now. You have to speak more and ask them.
Why don't you
Please,
say
everyone
something?
have more questions.
Oh, bless. Right, so I think I will start wrapping things up. I can
No,
post
don't rush
the details of that book that I showed you all at the end of this, and also to let you know that Imray is taking a break from its live events for the month of August, but they will be back bigger and better in September, and hopefully the events will be slightly less chaotic than this. Oh, we've got one more question, which is, when do you get off your boat and explore? All the time. We use our dinghy to get ashore. Yeah, answer.
We did it just like
This morning.
Yeah, this morning, and we went to a swimming pool. Okay.
Yeah, we did. We went out for breakfast and went to a swimming pool, which is quite nice.
But recently, obviously, because of COVID, we've not been ashore as much.
Oh! Stop that.
Okay. It's getting quite loud, and I think
Should
maybe
we say?
it's time for everyone to say a nice goodbye.
Should we say
No,
goodbye?
don't say goodbye now.
So goodbye from all of us on board. Thank you for joining us. We did warn you.
Bye.
And goodbye from Imray until September when they return with their live events. We hope you enjoy them. We hope you've enjoyed us. Be careful what you wish for. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thanks again.